So before we started recording, we just noted that the project security metrics projects install instructions have been updated.
Yes. And that linky thing. Cool. Okay. So welcome everybody. So we do have some new folks. If you guys want to kind of introduce yourself real quick. For everybody else, and we could do a super quick, like 3 minutes through everybody, because I think we have a lot to talk about today. So Silas, you want to kick it off?
Sure. Hey, I'm Silas Cutler. I do a lot of different things. I work full time at well, not a startup anymore, called CrowdStrike, doing security research and reverse engineering on malware. Run a project called Malshare, which is a large malware repository. Worked at a couple places in the past. Worked at Chronicle, which became Google. Worked at SecureWorks and a Tier 1 ISP back in the day.
Awesome. Welcome. Yeah, I guess let's just go down the line. Dan?
Sure, looking for the unmute button there. Yeah, I'm Dan Lawrence. I'm an engineer at Google in the security org, and I'm involved in this one and a couple other working groups here at the OpenSSF.
Thanks. David?
David A. Wheeler. I work at the Linux Foundation. Been working on open source software security for a long time. So I am trying to be as helpful as I can in all these different things.
Cool. Awesome. Dylan.
Cool. My name is Dylan. I am a fourth year engineering student at UC Berkeley, and I interned with Microsoft with Mike last summer. I'm going to be starting again, starting up full time in the fall, and yeah, that's about it.
Awesome. Prakash.
Hello, hi. My name is Prakash Jaratnam. I used to work a little bit on security, maybe 3-4 years ago, for about 7 years. But now I am not working in security anymore, so I joined this group to just keep my knowledge up to date. Yeah.
Awesome. Ryan?
Good morning. I'm Ryan Hanning. I work at Microsoft in MSRC, focused on open source security.
Cool. And Silas, I don't know if you introduced before or after I started recording, so if you wouldn't mind.
No, you want me to just run again?
Oh, I'm sorry. No, sorry. No, we're all good. I was thinking Ben. Ben, would you mind?
Oh, yeah. Hi, Ben Stoltz. I'm former Googler, a Zoogler. Working in platform security in my time there. I'm also on the Open Compute Project's security working group.
Awesome. Cool. And I'm Mike Scavetta. I do security things and open source security things at Microsoft. I run a team that does proactive security reviews of open source like tools, stuff like that. I've been doing security for 15 years, something like that, and then engineering before that. So I'm super happy to have new folks on the call today, and we'll kind of talk through some of the things that we're doing. And I'm going to be I've got a hat out looking for donations. So be prepared for some pressure. So first of all, the projects, the security metrics project is the link that you see here. This is it's a public project on the OSSF repo and OSSF thing on GitHub. We switched over from kind of a Django-based implementation to like, let's just make it really simple and get something out soon. So it's Grafana. So you can, for those of you who haven't seen it, I can give you the quick dashboard thing, which I'm hoping is just going to load like instantly. While that's loading, the purpose here is to gather metrics from different sources that already like produce them, but also have the ability to produce custom metrics, feed them all into a database, and then Grafana just makes the database pretty. So right now we grab things. What's a good one is badge program. So this is the ones down here are all from the OSSF best practices, the badge program. The ones on the right is the OSSF scorecard metrics, the things that are generated automatically by Google. So Dan, thank you. And this is OSSF scorecard, is where these metrics are coming from. These ones here in the middle we generate ourselves, and the description and things we grab from the best practices stuff. So this is just barely proof of concept. We want to move this forward, or at least we want to have the discussion on how should this move forward. So that's super high level what the metrics project is. So there were discussions last time on what it really takes to move this forward in terms of like manpower. Like, do we have folks that are passionate about this and want to do this? Meaning like literally like configuring Grafana and like figuring out like what metrics make sense where, and oh, this thing is duplicative of this, and oh, we could really pull this other metric in, so I'll write a connector for this. It's scripts and things rather than like super deep development, but it is not just point and click. So there were discussions on whether or not we could kind of outsource this work as a development task, or make it a kind of a university project. And I'll be transparent, I don't care really where, like who does it, but I do think that in something like this, because we're trying to get it off the ground and it's a relatively small group that's kind of driving this, the design and the implementation are super tightly coupled. So if we take the implementation and we just move the implementation out to someone else, then there will be constant traffic back and forth to whoever is doing the design, which doesn't really save the designer time. And by the designer, I'm kind of meaning, so I've been doing most of the implementation work on this. So that's kind of the driver. So if there's anybody in the call that's super passionate about this and you think this is something that you would like to learn more about to see if it's something that you want to volunteer for, I would love to hear that. But you don't need to speak up now because I've got other things to ask for too. So essentially we are, as far as progress here goes, I think we are at the point where we're at proof of concept, and now we need to decide how we jump from proof of concept to whatever MVP or whatever you want to call V1. I'll stop talking for a second. Any questions, thoughts, anything?
Well, I will jump in briefly. I think I have some of the same problem that you have, that I have too many things on the plate, but I would absolutely be willing to help out. I think it cannot be just me, and probably not just you either. But I can certainly put in some scripts. I can try to help identify what metrics are important. I do think that we ought to allocate a call, like a whole call on just, all right, let's go down to brass tacks. We have a very early version. What metrics should we toss? What metrics should we try to get in? And not just, hey, let's talk abstracts. Let's talk about exactly what's measured and how it's presented. And maybe my guess is that this meeting, because it looks like you've already got a longer agenda anyway, but maybe on our next meeting, why don't we just allocate that whole time to that discussion?
Let's do it.
Now, as far as the other help, there's actually already a pitch up to the OpenSSF governing board asking for some help on funding maybe a PhD student to work on this. Making a request, as you probably are well aware, is not the same as "and it was granted."
Yes.
But there, you know, and so I think very much discussing here and looking for others. I mean, you know, more the merrier, really. But there, you know, I don't think you need to say, "Oh my gosh, we can close up shop here." You know, we've got several irons in the fire to try to
Yep.
to move it forward.
Yep. Cool. That makes sense. So yeah, so I'll next meeting in 2 weeks will be the just super detailed. We'll have yeah, we'll just kind of talk details. And hopefully out of that we'll come up with like, oh, it's actually not that big of a deal, or like, oh my God, this is like really like, no, we need like, you know, 40 hours a week kind of work on.
Well, can we do a screenshot or something so that someone who doesn't install the software can see all the metrics that it presents? Is there an easy way for us to list, here's what we show now?
Yeah, I mean, do you mean this, or do you mean the?
Yeah, all right, what is it, you know, what is it currently showing? Yeah, without having to install it. I mean, really, just if you just capture the HTML and posted it somewhere.
Would that work?
Does that capture it all?
That is everything that's displayed. Yeah.
Fabulous. Then the answer is yes.
Oh, look at it.
Okay, I guess the other question is, can I read that?
Oh, well, we can.
That I test. I guess the answer is yes. Yeah, no data, no data, no data. I guess the sad thing is we can't see, but I guess we can guess what it would say if it had some data. Right?
There is no reason why I should not document what these things actually mean. I will document what they mean.
Okay, awesome. Cool. Yeah, just, you know, if we're going to discuss what it should say versus what it should have versus what it has, it's helpful to know what it has. And I understand that you were doing a quick, what can I do quickly? And I think it's really awesome for that. So let's figure out how to refine it.
Yep, cool. And thinking like none of these are like months since last release. Just months since last release. Now, is it a release? Is it a tag? Is it a commit? That's what we'll give. But it's none of them are like lots of logic behind the scenes, or at least none of these up here are like super complicated. Cool. What else? Okay, so moving on.
Oh,
sorry.
Sorry. Sorry, real quick. I just want to jump in and say that, well, that I'm happy to jump in and kind of allocate whatever time I have to, like, if you have like action items here and there you want to knock off your list or whatever it is. David, I'm happy to meet with you later too if you want to. I know you don't have much time, but kind of just, you know, have, you know, maybe a couple more checkpoints here and there, at least between these meetings, and see if we can get some things that we want kind of knocked off our list. And yeah, I just want to jump in here and kind of let you guys know that. So yeah, I don't know. That's
awesome.
That's helpful. Just keep me posted with things I could help out with.
Excellent. Who is that speaking, by the way?
Oh, sorry. This is Dylan.
Okay.
Former Mike intern. Just one.
Okay. Dylan, last name?
It's Bhalla, pronounced Bala.
Okay.
And
okay. Let's see. Okay, I hope I got it right.
Yeah, I see my first name there. Yeah, it looks good. Yeah.
Okay.
Awesome.
Cool. Okay. So, any other comments on the security metrics topic?
I guess I don't know if you want to have this as a separate topic, but one is we need to have some code that runs, and the other is we need a place on the web where it lives.
Yeah.
I had proposed metrics.openssf.org. It doesn't have to be there. Do you want to talk about that as a separate topic?
Let's do that as a separate topic. As we get closer to MVP or even like GA, I mean, we can certainly start talking about it as soon as possible, but I don't think we need to land on that until we're closer to kind of saying this is a real boy.
Okay.
But we'll.
Michael, I'm sorry, but since I'm new, I still am not able to follow what is the value that we are going to provide and what is the objective of this security metrics. I tried to search it in the Git and there is nothing as such. So it more talks about the technical aspect of it, but I am not able to grasp why we are doing this. So if you can teach me, it would be wonderful.
Sure. So the main purpose behind the metrics project is when someone is there are a couple different stakeholders that we have in mind. One of them is the developers themselves. Like, am I doing everything that I could be doing in order to have a successful, secure open source project? There are the consumers of the open source. Is the open source that I'm using trustworthy from multiple angles? Is it maintained? Do they find and fix security flaws? Do they follow just generally best practices? Compliance teams that have 10,000 or 100,000 different components in use across their org, and they want to understand either for themselves or for compliance regimes or whatever that what they're using meets the bar. We could take the stance that we're going to define out a bar, but then we kind of become a compliance group. I don't think we want to do that. So instead, we want to convey these metrics. Some groups are already so we started out saying let's just start collecting metrics. So we were going to go from fundamentals, and then there were some really good points about, hey, other projects are already collecting things, but they're collecting a small subset of things. Can we just bring those all together and have an all-up view? So what the current dashboard has now is a collection of data from 4 sources, basically GitHub, the best OpenSSF best practices, the OpenSSF scorecard, and security reviews. And that gives a snapshot of a particular project. There's a separate view that we had talked about, and I think is still important, which is the all-up view for a collection of projects. What does this look like? Where are the hot spots? So it's a that's kind of what it is, and I hope that.
Okay, but Mike, I actually tried to type in some things while you were talking.
Yeah.
I agree with what you said, but I would add there's, I think, one more group besides the developers of the projects and the users of the projects, and that's the downstream users. I have ended up with a project. Customers. Well, yeah, I'm calling them downstream users, but customer. Yeah, okay, fair enough. Yeah, basically, I've got a product. It includes 5,000 open source software packages. Which ones are especially risky or need investment?
Yep.
Thank you very much. Yeah, I'm a bit clear now. But now, I have another question. When you were explaining to me, if I may, I would like to ask it. Sure. Is how would a person who is developing something with open source would be qualified in this process? Does he have to apply for it, or is it automatic retrieval from all the projects in GitHub? If you are able to explain it to me, maybe I can understand a bit more.
In the fullness of the OpenSSF best practices is opt-in. The scorecard metrics right now we are only showing the ones that are like automatically collected and like exported like a giant JSON file, but we can run it on whatever we want. The rest of the data is pulled directly from GitHub. To answer your question, it should not be opt-in because most of the people that are getting the value out of this are not the developer themselves, like the developer of the open source component. So other folks have more of a stake in the game than the developer does. So it should, I don't think it should be opt-in. But does that, also don't think that we can arbitrarily make this any project out there just from a scaling perspective.
I disagree with you, Mike.
Okay.
Think big. If it's an open source project, it's in scope. It might be on GitHub. It might be on GitLab.
Yep.
It might have its own repo. If it's open source, it's in scope. Now, I would agree with Mike, that is not where we're going to start. But the last numbers that I had, and granted it's a couple of years old, we counted up about 2 million, a little over 2 million active open source projects. I'm sure there are more now. But you know what? 2 million is a finite number. You know, every day you federate it out, you gather all that data from all those projects, and you post it on the site.
Sold.
All right. Now we're not going to start there. But I think we should have a goal of, because the thing is, if you focus on eventually being inclusive, that means that this becomes the source for this information. Because why would you go over anywhere else? This has all the data.
Yep.
I still have a couple of things that is not clear in my mind. With open source, there exist many forms of licenses, and it might not be legally possible for us to qualify all the projects in GitHub.
No, stop there. If it's not legal, it's not open source. By definition, we're able to download it. We're able to analyze it. Now, you're right. It would not be legal to download arbitrary closed source programs, but we're not trying to do that. So we're intentionally avoiding that legal morass, and I think for good reason.
Is it based on some license qualification of the source code that you are going to qualify?
By definition, if it's open source, you're allowed to download it.
Although I would be clear, there are closed source things on things like NuGet, and I'm sure all the other package managers. So
sure.
We need to be a little bit careful in the projects that we choose, that we do ensure that it has an open source license, or otherwise have the lawyers figure it out to make sure that what we're doing for those types of projects are okay. But I think that's just, we'll figure that out as we move forward.
Yeah, but the thing is, if it's a public repo on GitHub, it's public. You're allowed to get it. That's the point. Mm-hmm. Now, I agree with you that. Sorry, go ahead.
Yeah, I don't want to get stuck in this, but like you can create GitHub repos with no license, and
fair enough.
Want to talk to a lawyer. I think that's even the default about what to do in that case.
Well, in that case, I think it's fair to say you set it to public, so you're allowed to download it.
Yeah, I think everybody's legal team is going to have a different stance there. I know what mine would say, and it's not that answer.
I'm sorry. We do have a ton more to get to. Did you have like one more question?
Yes, that was one, and the other one was just this is a thought in my mind. Correct me if I'm wrong. Why not make it as an opt-in mechanism? Maybe it solves a lot of problems for us on the legal front. So the developer opts in for this qualification, and maybe if he opts in, then we are able to qualify their product.
Yeah, I want to push back a little bit. You keep using this word qualify. This is not a qualification mechanism. So if you're looking for this metrics board decides for you whether or not you're allowed to use some software. I don't think we're trying to do that. We're trying to provide metrics that help others make that decision. We're not making the decision for them.
Yeah, I'm sorry pardon for my lack of vocabulary. Yeah, as you said, why not make it an opt-in process than pulling every code from GitHub or anything? So wouldn't that be easy? While we start small, while as per to your vision of thinking big, in a manner where we gradually grow.
I'm just not sure that there's any advantage to opting in versus us choosing a small number of projects. I think the opt-in nature means now we need a marketing campaign to go out and get people to try to do this, and I don't see any advantage to. I mean, I agree, absolutely start small, but I mean, certainly if someone wanted to opt in, we could certainly, if they said, hey, could you add my project? We could say yes and do it. But I don't think we should be limited to doing that.
Yeah, I mean, right now there's a list of projects, and then on a periodic basis, it goes out and grabs the things on the list. The CI Best Practices badge is opt-in. There really is no other way around it because it asks a series of questions. But I think for this, I agree. I don't see any advantage of opt-in. I think the only issue will be possibly, hey, if you've got somebody who thinks that public data isn't public, okay, but all the projects that we're including are known to be open source. They're known, they're like, and therefore by definition, if it's a known open source project, you are allowed to download it. That's part of the definition of it.
Thank you very much. I don't want to talk further about this, but there could be legal problems on this one. That is what I was worried about. Contributing as a personal, and if you can give a conclusive analysis from if OSSF has lawyers and say,
we have a whole bunch of lawyers. My boss is a lawyer. I want to be careful because we have to, if we absolutely want to make sure we do things legally, but if there's an actual legal issue, we need to identify what the legal issue is and address it. If it's open source, by definition, you're allowed to anyone's allowed to download it. Anyone's allowed to use it for any reason. So if in those cases there is no issue. Now, if there's other legal issues, that's great. I certainly would agree that if we tried to put trademarks up and claim that we were authorized by somebody we're not authorized, that would not be okay. But I don't think we're going to do that.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah. So we've got lawyers. If you see a legal issue, please let us know. But I don't see any, and I'll talk with our lawyers, but I don't think they'll see any issues either.
I value experience because I'm sure you better than me. You are a better person to judge on this, so it's fine. This is just a new person just asking some questions. Sorry.
Sure. Okay. Yep.
Cool. Okay. I shuffled around the agenda. I just really wanted to get to these two. Okay. So security reviews. So last time we talked, I showed a quick demo thing. We now have a repo, we have a template, we have, oh wait, I'm gonna, as I'm talking about that, let me find the thing that I actually wanted to show. Where did it go? Oh, I didn't merge it.
Hey, Mike, this is Kay.
Hi,
Sorry,
Kay.
I'm joining a little late, so forgive me. And I have, first comment I have is a nitty kind of one. Do we have kind of a standard for how we name projects? I'm noticing that for this group, we've been naming it, uppercase project dash something something, and for some of the other ones, the other working groups are creating, it doesn't say project in front and things are all lowercase. So I don't know if that matters, but maybe
I don't care. I'll follow whatever someone tells me.
Right.
Just,
I think it's Dan Lawrence has maybe been the one who's been creating other ones, and so I don't.
Yeah.
Dan, do you think we should be trying to follow some standard, or does it not matter?
I have no opinion. I don't care.
Okay. All right.
I have a minor preference to lowercase simply because on case sensitive systems, it's yet something else you have to remember. But life will continue if we don't.
Okay. So this is the template that I came up with. This is the one for left pad is my sample, like one that I always use. So I'm not going to go into super detail on any of this stuff, but like this is all the metadata. It is now like officially like YAML, so it's parsable between the comments, but it's also the rest of it is viewable as Markdown. So it's this Frankenstein thing. I don't love it, but I couldn't figure out another way of making it like viewable on GitHub, but also like reasonably easy to look at and update the metadata for, and also parse. There's a better way. We can do a better way, but this is the least bad way I could find. So yeah, it's a list of package URLs. This is what was done, by whom, the access being this is public, and this is to allow, at least for my team, we will have private ones that we will have in an internal repo that we will then mirror outside when they are okay to be made public. Publication state, this is just like, is this fully baked? What was reviewed in this? So implementation full, implementation partial, or non-implementation for like, the author has abandoned the project. It would be like a non-implementation scope review. Severity, if there's a problem, if the opinion is not secure, then the severity should say, well, how not secure? And then the summary and the details of the finding. So we want to keep it as like super simple. So this is as far as I think I want to go in terms of structure and mandates. But as any good project, first thing you do is you write the test case, which I did. So there's a validator that goes in and actually makes sure that things are covered. So what I was envisioning was you do one of these, you create it, you do as a pull request, it'll validate it, make sure that it's good. We look at it. If somebody else has to approve it, and then it goes in and it's in the repo, and that's it. And so it lives in the repo. We can investigate like exporting to like GitHub Pages or something else, but I think that the first order is to like put something here and bring like, this is a party, everyone's coming to the party, let's everybody bring some food. To make this a little bit easier, there's a form that is in the repo. It's just a single HTML page. You fill out your stuff, and you got to choose a couple of these. If you miss one, it'll tell you, and then it pops the markdown. Yes, it would be easier if it just like added it to the thing, but baby steps. So you take this, copy that, and move it to
for licensing. The template, which and Kay can tell us all about the joys of that. in general, we've been telling folks to use for documentation Creative Commons attribution, CC BY. I don't know if you have a preference, or I mean,
Yeah,
do whatever.
That is a really good point. Yes, because I don't want, as much as I want this to be free, I don't want it to be ripped off and then sold as their own. So whatever the
I think that's the thing. I don't mind somebody including it in a larger document as long as they give us credit.
Right, absolutely.
Yeah. So if you just copy the Creative Commons attribution reference, you need a CC. It's CC BY.
Yeah. Probably could. Yeah, I guess we could include that in each one. That would probably be the best way. Yeah. And probably a link back to the master repo so that people know where it actually came from within that text. So it would be somewhere down here, you know. We totally need a lawyer to look at that and make sure that that is sufficient to cover us, because I really don't want to get in a situation where OpenSSF or me or somebody else said this thing was totally cool and all of a sudden things are catching fire and they're what gives? Hi, Abhishek.
Hi, I had a question regarding this. So we have in your template things like static analysis and dynamic analysis checkboxes, right? So I think many of these tools is more for continuous testing. So at first I thought security reviews is more like code audits that somebody does one time. I feel like tools might be better tracked with, let's say, the metrics dashboard you had or the scorecard stuff, because these tools need to be run continuously. You cannot just run it one time and say, hey, everything is good.
Well,
I don't know, that's one idea.
Yeah. So the review will always be point in time, as opposed to the process, which needs to be kind of eternal. I think it is just my
to be fair, processes are also points in time.
Well, yeah, but so yes, you absolutely want tools to run on a continuous basis, but left pad version 1.3.0, number one, that code will never change for 1.3.0. And yes, the tools could advance, and we have thought a little bit about at what point do these reviews kind of expire just from age. I don't have a super strong feeling on when, but I feel like there should be an expiration. But I do think that the two advantages here is that this is the culmination of, there was some static analysis run. I looked at the results. The results showed X. This is X. And maybe I did a code audit as well, and I did some other stuff. And this is out of my brain onto paper at this point in time for this particular project. One of the advantages here is that the audience for this is not just the developer themselves. Most of the time, most tools are only accessible to the development team themselves, and for good reason usually. But the people that are incurring the risk are not kind of everybody except for the developer usually. So this is to give me, the consumer of LeftPad, or you, the consumer of LeftPad, some assurance that, you know what, someone has looked at this and this thing actually looks okay. Or someone has looked at Elasticsearch and said, the code is fine, but don't expose it to the internet, or whatever, things like that, it allows us to go beyond code level flaws into, hey, just make sure you don't this thing arbitrarily executes things that are an environment variable. So make sure you have control of your environment before you invoke it. Things like that. Does that answer your question? Or
yes, I get the understand. I understand. I think it's tied to versions. That's what I did not understand before. Yeah. But okay, if there is some way to at least indicate like integration with the tools itself, that would be nice to have.
I would love that. Yes. So
yeah, I just added that to the notes. I think there's a useful point here, which is one of your review comments could be, what tools are they using in their CI process?
yes,
Yes.
Which is a review of process, but nevertheless gives you some indication. I do think that running tools independently still has value. For example, I tell everybody when they add tools to their CI process, if it's not a new project, you have to basically tune them way down. You know, only report the most critical stuff and then slowly increase, because otherwise you're overwhelmed. But it's often good as an external viewer to say, well, let's actually really turn on the checks, and oh my gosh, the reason there's no reports is because they turned them all off.
Right. I ran the tool. You told me to run the tool. I ran the tool.
And I was scared.
Yeah. Okay. So this is the point where I'm going to ask for help. In order for this thing to be valuable, we need reviews to be done. I'm making some assumptions that other organizations out there are doing are doing reviews, maybe ad hoc, maybe informally, maybe formally, or simply that you are so passionate about the space that you want to contribute something tangible. This is something super tangible. So what I'm asking for are volunteers to conduct some of these reviews. Just
I'm on
5 or whatever, and submit them, and let's test out the process, make sure that it works, and you know, hopefully in the next 2 weeks we can get a couple more in. You know, we have so my team, we do a lot of these, so we have a lot to donate and put in here, and that's fine. But this has to be a community project. It can't just be, you know, if every one of these is like done by the Microsoft security team, like that's not a community thing.
Have an apprenticeship program. It's often helpful to bring somebody up in the art of this by having them sit alongside people who are actually doing the reviews.
Absolutely. I'm more than happy to set up time with folks on my team that do this. We can do them jointly, whatever works. Absolutely. That's
Mike, what's the URL to contribute to?
This,
stick it in here?
Yeah, sorry, it's behind.
Are these reviews going to be built kind of like from the ground up, or can we kind of like take a look at like existing like things out there and like review, like, I don't know, like how this is reviewed elsewhere, and see their credibility kind of, and attach links to that and stuff?
I'm going to put in about 10 of them later this week that are of varying levels of depth and things. But I don't want to prescribe exactly what the right level is, because I think it'll depend. Right. I mean, structure-wise, you can use this, but it still doesn't say like, well, how detailed of a summary? Like, do I have to like go like issue by issue and why I think it's a thing or not, or is it just like, your thumbs up looks good to me?
Yeah, I'm going to tell you. I'll tell you right now. I'm volunteering myself, and I'm going to tell you what I'm going to do. I'm going to go grab some of our existing LF reviews.
Absolutely.
And
yes.
copy paste the top levels or summary of them,
yep.
And then link off to the actual review for the details. And what's great about that is that, you know, the work's already been done. The problem is, even with good Google flu, you may not be able to find them. So having a single place.
Yeah.
So David, could you talk? Could you schedule a meeting to talk through some of these reviews?
David, I'm David. Do you mean Mike?
No, I mean David. You're volunteering to post these things.
No, I'm volunteering to post LF ones that we've done.
Yeah. So I will set up. I can set up a meeting to, like, jointly do some of these together.
To go over ones that have already been done. This is what we did. This is how we did it.
Okay.
This is why it winds up in the review. That sort of thing. So it would be more streamlined than kind of stumbling through a live review to, going over an existing one that's finished.
Okay, Mike, do you want to schedule something
Sure.
like that? Okay.
Yep. I can do something next week for. Yeah, I will set that up for. And maybe we'll record that so everybody else who can't make it can.
Yeah, that's an excellent one to record. Just sort of training on how to do these things.
Perfect.
Yeah, that'd be awesome.
Awesome. Cool. Okay. So that's security reviews. So what I think we should do is, wait until we get, N of them done in the repo, and then flip the bit to public, and then we can start talking about it. I think that will generate some interest.
So it's not public yet. I won't be able to see it.
It is no. Sorry, you should be able to see it because you're part of the OSSF thing, but it's still a private repo. I think there should be something in there before we talk about it.
I cannot see it at all. I believe I joined the OSSF kind of registered and all that. I believe, but I don't.
Okay,
see
I
that.
will. I'll figure that out.
Send Mike an email.
Yes. Okay. Cool. Okay, and the last thing that we want to get to is the anyway package feeds or some analysis of it. Dan, this one was yours, right?
Yeah, I'm the one who proposed this.
Oh, you did. Okay.
But
Yeah.
basically, this is another OpenSSF project. What they're trying to do is just analyze them and gather data, and then try to have different folks look at that data to try to identify malicious packages. If there's a way that we could take either the package feeds directly or the results of somebody's analysis of that to identify the riskiness of something being potentially malicious, I think that'd be great. Dan's on the call, so Dan, thoughts?
I think Dan hopped off actually.
Oh no.
Yeah, I mean, I need to look into this more to see exactly what this is, but I mean, so in transparency, so we use the libraries IO API to kind of do what it seems like the feeds part of it does, where it consolidates everything into one stream, and we're just have our pulse on the what is newly published. And we do have plans in the works for doing deeper analysis of each one as they come in. So I think if it makes sense to consolidate that work and have it be part of the OpenSSF, I'm in principle fine with that. So I'll Dan's driving package feeds.
Yeah.
Okay.
I can tell you what they do. Basically, they look for the package registries when there's something that's changed. They grab it, they download it, they watch what happens when you install it. I think they eventually might even do more than just the install, but at least it turns out a number of malicious. Well, there are very smart actors, and then there's what I would call the amateurs.
Yep.
A lot of the amateurs create malicious software where they'll do the attack right during the install, for example. And, we'd like to at least be able to detect the amateur malicious software.
Yeah, totally.
And so, being able to report, hey, we didn't find anything, or, oh my gosh, look at this nonsense, don't use it.
Yeah. So this is, oh, neat. Okay. Yep. That makes it. That's really similar to what we're doing.
Yeah. So basically, I mean, the metrics dashboard should yank that data in along with the other things again to provide that. And so they do this, other folks do the other thing. We pull it all together, and happiness ensues.
Love it.
If this detects updates or like things that go wrong and like updates to these packages, then like do you think that could be helpful for kind of helping determine like what, like in terms of like expiry and stuff like that, if like to tell when things are like packages or I don't know like how that's going to be quantified, but I don't know. Is that
It could detect things other than malicious packages. I mean, you know, clearly if something doesn't install, that's a problem, whether or not it's
Yeah.
intentional or not. But I think the original goal was more to look for the, you know, stupid attacker tricks.
Oh, gotcha. Oh, okay. I thought it was something to do with like more with like how they're updated and stuff and determining. How
No,
they
no.
differ.
It basically does the install, and you know, oh look, it's trying to look for your password file and send it to this other
Yep.
place,
Gotcha.
or it's trying to run a Bitcoin miner. Maybe you didn't want that.
Makes sense. Makes sense.
And you laugh, and yet both of those things have happened. So
Don't doubt it.
Okay.
I have a question on this.
Yeah.
The reviews that we are going to do, will they be reviewed by somebody else? I mean, who reviews the review on this?
Yes. So the pull request would be especially after this goes public, we would expect that anybody can submit a pull request. And I'm open to suggestions on what the approval workflow should be, and I'm actually not sure exactly how configurable the requirements for do we need one, can we set it up where so that there are two different approvers? Obviously the requester is not one of them, or just one, or whatever you want to have. But yeah, it would be through the through this kind of approved and merged and stuff to get it in. So yes, there would be one other set of eyes on it. The problem with security reviews in general is that in order to it's one thing to be like, oh, whatever this person said is just total garbage. But if the person made a mistake, the effort to determine that they made a mistake is comparable in effort to the effort to do the original review. So we can't do each review twice, which is why, I mean, there definitely are some landmines here that we need to be aware of. One is that we just totally get it wrong, but I think we can correct it. Another one is someone submits a PR with a serious, 0 day. I don't know how to mitigate the risk of that other than with text on the on the issue and pull request form. I think there's a pull request form saying don't disclose anything that's not public.
Yeah, I think you just make that one clear. I mean, there's two different issues. There's several issues. One is, but I think from our point of view, we need to make sure that the project is not at risk. The OpenSSF or Linux Foundation or the people involved in this particular working group are not at risk. If somebody posts a vulnerability, a 0 day, and we told them not to, it's not our fault that they didn't follow directions.
Yeah. Right.
Yep. I mean, security is a matter of probability. I'm not sure how many of you will agree with me, but there will be false positives and false negatives even in our reviews, right?
Mm-hmm.
And when you encounter, for example, you're going to certify a module as gold. A recent example of the US government data hacks, the modules were certified as gold, but they were hacked through, right? And what kind of measures that we have for that kind of situations?
Oh, again, I don't think we're certifying anything. Somebody looked at it and has comments. I would call this a public essay writing. If we wanted to certify, then we have to have a very specific set of criteria we're evaluating against.
I'm not sure
I don't
because
think we're
last
doing that.
time Michael told me that he's willing to pay people to do reviews, and also he's looking into certifying if they pay us or something like that. So that's where my vocabulary of certification came from.
Yeah, and I used to be involved, by the way, in the common criteria, so I'm very familiar with this world. I immediately my antennas pop up when you use those words, because those words have very specific meanings. Yeah. I'm going to certify against a particular set of criteria. You immediately have to ask, well, which criteria?
Yeah.
Our time is up here.
Yes, time is up. Thank you all very much. I really appreciate everybody's time. I hope this was useful. If you think about if you want to get involved in the metrics dashboard project, please just post your name or note or email me or whatever in the and I'll make sure that you're on that. And security reviews, I'll set up a meeting next week. I'll send out to everybody. If you can attend, that would be terrific. We'll talk through the talk through all that. But then please think deeply about what you can contribute to this, because this is a working group. We need to work. So
Awesome.
thank you all very much.
Thank you.
Yeah, thank you guys.
Bye all.